but to also bring in our kind of almost friend Gabo Mate. It's really awesome that he pushes so much the focus on the nurturing, the love during childhood. What that means is basically they give them the attention, the love really that they need and want. It's basically creating this fertile soil where everything that needs to can grow into. That's such an important perspective to keep in mind, that you might be able to give them some tools here and there, but the basis on which all of those things happen is from love, from the connection, from a healthy attachment. Welcome to another episode of Better Together. And today we have a very exciting topic because we talk about it all the time. And the topic is what we learn from children. Especially in the past few weeks, we've been so drawn into the few children that were actually around us. And especially your nieces and nephews. And that's super interesting.
Exclusively my nieces
Exclusively,
and nephews.
Yes.
We weren't finding children like in parks
No.
or anything. We weren't being weird yet. Yes, this is a hot topic because we've been playing with children and it's been so long since we actually had a child in our lives. Because really, like when we were living in the Netherlands, we had no close proximity to anybody with a baby. So now we get to know children from a psycho-spiritual perspective.
As always.
And it is real fun. It's been real fun and very interesting. And I hope we're not coming across as creeps. Like we're all the time just like looking at the children, figuring out why are they doing this? Like how are they adapting to this situation? What happens in their minds, like in the black box of their minds? And so I guess my cousins are a bit creeped out. My nieces and nephews just find us fun, and we are very happy to do some field work by just watching children.
Yes, and we literally just tell our experiences now, what we have been up to, what we figured basically, right? Past few weeks, and what we learned from it, not only like how to understand the child development, but basically what can you see in children, what either helps us now as adults, or maybe also what you can see already in 2-3-year-old children, what might, it's a projection obviously, what might be the thing that they deal with later in life. But welcome, I'm glad to host this again with Caro. And I'm Julian, and let's get on with the topic, and I guess a short story as always.
Okay.
Do you have one? Do you want to start with one?
It's good that we prepared for this.
Yeah.
Yes. Yesterday, we went to the beach with my niece, Abril. Abril is 2.5 years old, and she has a very calm Zen personality. She's like the calmest, the chillest 2-year-old ever. And it took us like 1.5 months to get to a point where she will trust us enough to just be herself around us and to go to places with us.
She was not talking to us. Whenever we started talking to her, she was just stunned completely. Yeah. She didn't react at all. Yeah. And now after 1.5 months, living literally next door, we sort of get a little entrance into playing with her.
Exactly. So she accepted us after us working very hard to be her friend. And yesterday we went to the beach. And I was like, we were playing, it was beautiful. And then when we were heading back, we needed to take the cart,
stroller?
The stroller through the sand, and if she was on the stroller, it would have been too heavy and like it gets stuck in the sand. So then I was just carrying her on me. And then she was like saying like stuff about the stroller. She was like, oh, I think it would be great if I would sit on the stroller. And can I take that toy that it's on the stroller and like just carry it on me while I sit on the stroller? And then what I realized is that she was trying to get me to sit her on the stroller without offending me. And I was like, what? You're like You're 2 years old. Like, she didn't want to hurt my feelings because she didn't want me to feel rejected or something. And she just wanted to be on the stroller. So she was being assertive in a way, like just trying to get to the stroller, but she didn't want to hurt my feelings in the process. And then I was just explaining to her, like, oh, when we get to solid ground, I'll just put you on the stroller. But like that situation, I saw a few where she is very kindly saying things, so I don't get offended. And I'm like, don't offend me. It's fine. Hurt my feelings. I'm all right. Like, no wanting to teach like the wrong toxic behaviors, but just be authentic. Like, I would love for her to be authentic around me and not have to take care of my feelings. But that's her default. Yeah. And then what was insane to me is that I always thought that that's a learned skill. Mm-hmm. Because when your parents are very emotionally needy, and then you start creating this adaptive mechanism so you can meet your parents' needs and still be loved and all of that, I thought it was a process that you would learn later in life. But the moment that she started talking, she had this. And it's not like she's not even developed as an individual. Like, she's like at 3 years old, there's a threshold where you start understanding yourself as a separate creature from your parents, from your caregivers. And she's not even there, and she's already thinking of other people. Yeah. And it's ridiculous, like, how these aspects of personality show up so early on. So that was bananas. Like, I couldn't believe that at such a young age she would have this level of understanding of how emotions work, and she would use that in like the softest way possible.
Yeah, of course not cognitively, right?
No.
But just this feeling of, oh, I don't want to offend this person, so I say it lightly, is so difficult, like, to understand that this is like such a difficult process. You understand the other person's feeling, or at least, you feel it, mm-hmm. and try not to make them feel bad. It's such a like high level thing to really get and really do. So that's why we were so stunned by it. Yeah. In so many areas she was doing that, not only with the stroller, right, but also when today she wanted to actually not us. She didn't want us to leave in the morning when we were having breakfast with her, and then she started silently just being stunned again, like just stopped moving and just started crying very softly, yes. Like a little bit of water in the eyes, and that meaning like she didn't want really to express that emotion.
She's 2.
Yeah,
She's 2 years old. Like, she's not having a tantrum or expressing herself. Like, she cries with her parents, and that's normal because that's like the safe attachment, and then she just feels free. But the fact that she's feeling the emotion and she's doing everything in her power to repress it in front of a stranger, like that to me, a stranger. Well, now we know each other, and. But yeah, that to me was intense. And also the fact that it was because she didn't want this to end. Like, yeah, she didn't want to stop the breakfast. Like, she was already missing us because like it was like, we need to go to work. And then the moment that her eyes started tearing up, I was like, no, I don't go to work. I just stay with you. Like, I don't care. But it was so beautiful and heartbreaking at the same time, because it happened a couple of times already where I see this happening. Like, I notice something's wrong, like something in her attitude changes, but it's so subtle. Yeah. It's so subtle. And then I look in her eyes, and then she has a little bit of water in her eyes. So then I just like grab her and I start kissing her, and like I start loving her so she can embrace that emotion. She can actually show it. Yes. Because that's what she does, is repressing it and getting it stuck. Yes. And that's at 2 years old. Like, if you just project it forward, obviously that would the other side of the coin would be she not being able to express emotions when she's like 25. Yeah.
And yeah, I guess that's what we sort of project and estimate. Maybe that's, if you can actually see that at 2 years old, that would be incredible.
Yeah.
Like seeing that person, a human, is at 2 years old, not understanding I'm separate from my parents yet.
Yes.
I don't have my own identity really. And then already trying to suppress emotions in that way. Might be like this adaptive behavior, maybe an adaptation to not making other people feel hurt in your environment. Maybe you should learn it from somewhere, but it's really early though.
Yeah.
And so it would be really interesting to see then, update following in 20 years, how she...
Check in for episode 1000.
Click the bell for in 20 years. Would be so interesting to see whether that actually developed as feeling, not being able to express the emotions properly, like fully, authentically.
Yeah, because we can already see, and this is what we were talking with her parents, that there's so much of her personality shining through.
Yeah.
And it's related to her. We say that she was a nun, like a nun, like a Buddhist nun
in a monastery.
In a monastery before, because she sits like so patiently looking at the birds.
And like for like 20 minutes for just watching birds.
Like the other day we were there just like half an hour, just like sitting on the stairs and watching birds. That's all we did with a 2-year-old. And
she was crossing her legs as well.
She was crossing her legs like her dad teaches yoga, so maybe there's something in there, but still, like the chillness is unique. And what we can see is like this personality shining through. She is a conflict peacekeeper. No, it's like a peacekeeper. So she doesn't
conflict avoidant.
Conflict avoidant. So that's the two sides of the coin. On the one side, she's very comforting, very kind, and on the other side, probably afraid of conflict. So then those are the personality traits that we're already seeing unfold. We also see her natural ability to do like bodily stuff. She's very good. Like yesterday in the beach, we were playing. Like I was doing the crab, which is like a move from like, I don't know, training. What? Functional movement. And it took me a while to figure that one out.
Yeah, like a couple of minutes, right?
Yeah. And it's basically just like putting your arms behind and walking like if you were a crab, like with your butt facing the ground.
The reverse table kind of thing?
Yeah, it's like a reverse table. So your belly's up, your butt facing to the ground, and then you lift your torso and you walk.
Yeah. With
your hands and legs. And she was picking that up within seconds.
Now she had one doing the normal table like that, then she stopped, turned around and did the actual thing. Yeah. So I was like, wow, that was quick. Yeah,
she looked at me how I was doing it and then immediately imitated it. And I was like, wow, girl. So there's also that showing up. And we're excited to continue to watch these things unfold. But it's crazy how much you can read into a child and how pure they are in the essence, because
or project into a child from our things. So we don't know. We're not really child development psychologists, but it's just really interesting to just because there are those indicators for it, but whether they will show later in life, who knows?
Yeah.
But definitely, if she would sort of be an adult and have those patterns, you could see those.
Yeah.
And so that's what we basically take out of that now.
Yeah. And it's interesting to see the child that later unfolds into an adult with the troubles of the adult. So right now, like my niece Audit is so loved, and she receives so much attention. Like she's being raised like by the book, let's say. And
parents are very conscious about how they want to do everything.
Yes, and still she will face the struggles that come with the personality type, because that's it. And that's so interesting, because like then when we see the grown-ups, and in our consultation, like we can see the grown-ups come in with similar problems of like, I cannot express my emotions, or I'm afraid of conflict. And you're just seeing the adult, but it's actually just so early sometimes. Like, it started since birth.
Yeah, maybe then the thought is really, maybe the adult is just the sort of in society integrated child, right?
Yeah.
So I find this a very funny picture to really imagine, okay, maybe we are right now, because we all have this inner child that who I guess we sometimes talk about, but it's we are being put into this world, learn something from our parents, learn something from other caregivers or other people around us, and then sort of from that baseline we try to adapt and take on a path in a direction, and at some point we're an adult and arrive there with like life experiences and stuff like that, but we still put into this position with an initial foundation, which is as a child, where we learn the most.
Yeah.
I don't know who's that. Matthias Stefano, I think, said like in the first 7 years we learn probably more than in the last in the other 70 years.
Yeah.
And that's amazing, because it's so much that we really learn in the beginning, because our brain is so malleable, and so we take in so much, but it also sort of paves the way in the direction we go then afterwards.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I was thinking like it's almost like you put on your skin suit like as a human, and then later on you can change the color of your hair, change the clothes you wear, but the skin suit stays the same. Like it modifies slightly compared to how much you can modify like the external things. And I think that's like the skin suit is the personality. So when you have an innate character, like there's so much research on this, and it's non-conclusive, because it's impossible to show that a baby has character because you don't know what's going on in their minds, and they're not very willing to take assessments, multiple choice. So then there's that inability to understand that part, but you can see it. Like if you have twins and they're literally 1 week old, you will see the different personalities, and this is there's something innate. So
this like nature nurture debate.
Yes.
It's like, okay, there's probably 50 give and take percent nature and 50 give and take percent nurture. In what is it? How do you call the games that it's like you're a first player? First person stuff.
First person stuff. Like you create a player.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Yeah. You create a player, okay.
Yeah. You create a player. Well, there's some fantasy
like
games.
in the Sims kind of game?
No, it's like what comes to my mind is MMA, but MMA is like a fighting thing.
That's not it.
Oh, damn it. Please, somebody nerdy, write it somewhere. Anywho, the thing is, when in many games, when you're in the beginning, you can choose what type of warrior or character you're gonna play with, and you have like the warrior, like the force strength warrior, like with the axe that just like goes into battle and just punches with the sword or the axe. You have the archer, you have the sorceress, the magician, you have the half animal, half person, and each of them has their own unique flavor. So usually if you like up level it, you are equally good with all the characters, or at least some games are made that way. So the whole point is that you choose a path, and then that path you need to grow into it and like get better at being a sorceress, or get better at being a fighter. And you can learn a little bit of the other ones usually, like you learn a couple spells, or you can use like this amulet for something, but mostly the strongest that you can get is within your path. Mm-hmm. In the good games. So
but strongest like in different direction, right? Physically strong with the
or having like the maximum powers of like shooting rays from your hands, or just invoking fire. Like, those are the things that you can do.
I love the video game analogy because it's actually so true in a way.
Yeah.
That we have this character and we can get additional skills to it, and we have different strength in different scenarios. We are better than others, but we are all equally needed in a game. When you look at League of Legends, I guess many know that you've usually the big map and 5 players, and they're all different strengths. They have all different strengths, and all of them are needed. And all, like in the whole like fight in the end, all of them are needed and have different sort of tasks to do in order to win. And so same way, like all personalities, all traits as a human are so needed and are so good. Like they're equally good. That we just try to be the best of ourselves, the best character, the best way, the path that we chose.
Yeah. So in this, thank you for spoiling that it was an analogy. Nobody saw it coming at all.
Nobody.
It was a secret. And, well, the thing is, you choose a path, but in life, a path is given. So you have it. You just have it. And you have this personality, and this is the cards that you're dealt with. So you get to improve in that personality. You get to learn traits from the other types of personalities. But the best that you can get is within your lane, like within the things that you were already given. In the case of my niece, Abril, then if we were to turn her into an extroverted dancer that is like the backup dancer for Daddy Yankee, we don't want that. But like, if we wanted her to be that, then we would be depriving her from being whatever true expression she wants to take. So if she wants to be the nun that goes into the Himalayas and just like meditates the shit out of that mountain, the one mountain, then that's her path. And by us trying to get her to be a dancer and get her to be this, I don't know what other possibility is there, but like a TV presenter or like things that don't naturally appeal to her, at least at this moment. Like, we don't know. This is just theorizing on a very short information span. But if we were to take her off the path that she's in, that she's meant to live, the authenticity that she feels, and turn her into something else, then what we will be doing is delaying the process of her becoming the strongest, the best that she can be in her natural gifts. So I think she would be a great therapist, a great teacher, a great nanny. Well, maybe also whatever.
Like, yeah, just anything that's actually involved. She's really concentrated, can stay super calm on things when she's 2 already. Almost like
2. She has way more concentration than me.
Yes.
So much more. It's so humbling.
So anything that's related to that, like really maybe even going into research or stuff like that, all of those could be possibilities.
Yeah.
But I guess the main point being is that she will find her natural path by trying out things, but not by us or anyone else putting stuff on her that is, oh, you need to do this. This will be great to you.
Yeah. Yeah. And what we were discussing with her parents is picking out on those things and just help nurture them.
Yeah.
Not trying to destroy anything that she's already building by herself, and foreseeing the struggles that she might have, like for example the avoidance of conflict, and then just starting to give tools to manage those situations. So that's the way that you can ease the path, because you know that every type of personality has its pitfalls. So if you just see a child and you're like, okay, they're the very extroverted kind, but they also need attention, they probably will seek approval from the outside constantly, then you will want to give the internal safety of like self-esteem and really, really nurture that part. You always need to nurture self-esteem, but there's different things, like this different puzzle pieces that fit for different personalities. So yeah, in this case, it would be more like how to deal with conflict, how to not avoid it, how to stand for yourself, and express your emotions, like be stand in your power, and like that would be the challenge.
But I also think that like we as humans are put here to learn those things and to like figure it out by ourselves in a way. But to also bring in our kind of almost friend Gabo Mate, it's really awesome that he pushes so much the focus on the nurturing, the love during childhood. So what that means is basically they give them the attention, the love really that they need and want. Because it's basically creating this fertile soil where everything that needs to can grow into.
Yeah.
And I think that's such a important perspective to keep in mind, that you might be able to give them some tools here and there, but the basis on which all of those things happen is from love, from the connection, from a healthy attachment.
Yeah, and if you have to choose to give one thing,
it's
just give love. Give love. Yeah, but
just give love.
Just give love. But it's interesting how these things that we're figuring out now of how to raise a child to be their best selves, like it's just this coming generations. Like it didn't happen with us. We didn't get like the textbook parenting of the progressive psychologist. We actually got like whatever. It was like just go play outside, and then I would just like disappear into the forest for hours, and it was a different kind of growing up. But I think with knowledge and with all of these discoveries that are being done about child development and how to be a better parent, what we're doing is skipping the part where the child needs to spend 17 years in therapy figuring out who they are. So by the time that they are like 21, they know who they are, they know what they want, and they can start going for it. And we don't know what that human looks like.
No.
We don't yet, like this generation didn't grow up yet. But I think what will happen as we start integrating this strategies into the raising of children is that eventually they will have a lot less shit to go through.
Yeah.
And at least like the damage from the parents, and then that will give them a lot more free time or free development space to start saving the world, or creating art, whatever is in their heart, whatever they're meant to do.
Before we jump into how to save the world with raising
children,
with children, how to save
children, please,
how to create better development, what can we like literally take from that for ourselves? I think that's an interesting question that I'd love to look at when we now observe children. What is there that we notice from them? Because what I notice, like in the way we interact with them as well, because you interact differently with a 2-year-old than with a 43-year-old. Right? Sometimes, at least most of, I think. And so, like what I noticed, because in the past years I didn't really have experience with really interacting with small children, so I had like some struggles. I was like, okay, how do I really approach it? Especially with her, with like not giving any sign of reaction in the first like month. I was like, how am I doing this right? Connecting with her, is that going in the right direction? So it was really interesting to bring up the sort of little bit insecurity of how I relate to her, of how I connect with her. Is she willing to play with me or not? Like this things that we, I guess, learned somewhere in our childhood was like, now I cognitively thought about it. And that was really interesting, really fun to notice how to interact now with children.
Yeah. Is that where you were going? Like what we are learning.
Exactly.
From,
what we might learn from the interaction, but maybe also what we learn from just looking at children, then about our own inner child, or how we can really take something for our own life from it. So both ways.
Yeah. Well, I do think that part of the innate personality really shines through. And when you see it so pure in children, when they are just playing with each other and you realize like who's the leader, like the one that is calling all the shots, and the ones that are happy not calling all the shots, and the ones that are super intense and then they clash every 5 minutes, which is like two of my nieces, by the way. They have very intense personalities and very distinct.
Yeah.
So it's like when they get together, they love each other for a long time, and then eventually something clicks, and their intensity gets to a level where they start fighting. They fight, and those are the clashes that we see in adults as well, like the personalities that don't fit well together, like the alpha females, the alpha males that cannot get along because they're fighting for something, for the attention or the leadership position. And you see it in children too. So from watching children, there's a lot of the human adult interactions that get explained, like what everybody says, like heal the inner child, please do. Please do, because honestly most of our shit comes from there, like
and so there's like the thing of what you say about children is, oh, they're having a tantrum, so you let them just do their thing, be completely relatively unaffected with it, and just wait until they're soothed and are feeling fine again.
Yeah.
And that happens so many times with adults, and we just try to think, what happened? What did I do wrong? What happened in the interaction? How can I change this in the future? And the person just slept bad, like didn't sleep well.
So in the context of like just thinking of an adult having a tantrum.
Yeah.
I totally I have that. Like I my dad was used to be very reactive, and sometimes I would just understand that he's having a tantrum and like he's an adult baby right now. So then I would just like give him space, not try to interact, not ask him for anything. Like I knew there was a terrible time to deal with him right now. And then just eventually he would go to sleep again and wake up better, or take a nap or something, and then things would change. But yes, we allow children to have tantrums to an extent, because also we don't want to be discomforted by the yelling and stuff.
Of course.
Which I don't really mind so much, like
right
the
now,
children right now, because it's not my child.
Who knows?
But with adults, we are more judgmental, and we might overthink when another person is just having a mood.
Yeah, we know so much from science already that sleep is so important for emotion regulation, and that we had just 4 hours of sleep and everything can trigger us, like being in the traffic, just having a bad look from somebody, and we're like the whole day thinking about how fucked up that was.
Yeah. And
then that's just a manifestation of us not being able to really manage the emotions. A nap could fix that, So
highly recommended.
And now we see that here, like directly, that at some point, like she was crying for like 2 hours, and at some point we were asking her mother, like, what happened to her? Oh, she slept well. She slept bad, sorry. She slept bad. And like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah. And then that's it. She just slept bad and couldn't regulate the emotion as a 2-year-old. I mean, it makes sense. But
well, most of the time she does.
Yeah, surprisingly. But if you put that into then the adult life, it's still happening. When we're so in today's society, when we're so stressed in our normal working week, and didn't get enough sleep, then that's almost feels normal. At some point it becomes like the new normal, that you just eat more easily agitated. And just because we didn't have enough sleep, for example, right? Mm-hmm. There are obviously many other factors, but that could be
for me,
big
food.
one. Food and sleep. very big ones.
What is it? Food, sleep? Isn't there like another one? Well, for me, it's like hormones, food, and sleep.
Yeah.
Those are my 3 possibilities. And you cannot do anything about it. Like that.
Until you give your body what it needs.
You can, I guess, soften it.
Yeah.
But as part of having a human suit and being in a meaty in a meaty state, you will have bad moments.
Yeah.
And very often induced partly or fully by these 3 things. And well, for me, like what I do as an adult is like I become aware of that, and I'm like, I cannot have a client right now because I need to eat something before, otherwise I won't be fully present. I'm too hungry, or just knowing like if I'm very hormonal that I might be triggered more easily.
Yeah.
So I just give a heads up and be like, it's nothing that you did. Just be mindful. But yeah, I think we always have that. Children tend to express it more freely.
Because we have this thing in the prefrontal cortex.
It's so interesting. That's another interesting thing, that children don't have the self-talk.
Usually. Except maybe.
But well, we cannot see into the minds of children. Like they're learning at a pace that it's bananas. It's like light years learning, and it's very mysterious. Like we don't know what's going on in their minds. What I can feel, for example, as being an empath, is the emotions that they go through and like the intensity of emotions. So children feel everything in a more, I don't know if like pure way. I don't know if pure is the right word, but it's like they feel the excitement and it's like explosion of excitement. They feel the happiness and it's like extreme. Like they don't even know how to hold it in their body. They're like, yeah! They're so cute. But also with the sadness, like the extreme grief, like they go all in. And I think as an adult, we learn to compose and just not to show
suppress
them.
it almost.
To suppress it, to tone it down. But those emotions and that intensity is still there. We just became less sensitive about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because our body still reacts, like the hormones are still there. Like if we were to become sensitive to everything, the way that a child is, we could get there.
Yeah.
I think we could get there.
Yeah, just looking her when she has that excitement, just trying to get with it. It is so fun, honestly.
Yeah.
But also just noticing for yourself that I think there's some form of restriction that we put on ourselves, not feeling that much of excitement or that much of sadness. Because I guess we just want to have it tamed down a little bit, all of it, rather than having the highs, lows extremely.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. What can we use from this now? So I want to bring it back a little bit towards the future and how this can help us actually solve our own things. So how can we use those learnings now to help society a little bit, or give some tips and actionable things to do in order to, I guess, use the insights for a better life for ourselves?
Well, I think children are very pure creatures. So they're almost like as good as it gets. Like, I don't know, a properly raised like child with all their needs met, is as good of a human as it gets. Like then afterwards, when we start growing up, going to school, like we start getting tamed, we start getting civilized and all of those things, and then we start losing things. So I think the best we could do for humanity is to let a person grow as close to a child as possible. Not that they will never have responsibilities, but that they will keep their creativity, that they will keep their emotional experiences, that they won't be numb and tamed, and that they will keep the authenticity as well. Because as a child, you don't need to repress that you like strawberries and you hate kiwis. It's just your nature. So just taking so much of that purity and carrying it into adulthood and allowing that to evolve in as much of a frictionless environment as possible. And a child that is raised in that environment where they're embraced by who they are, they are approved, they're seen, and they're allowed to be authentic, they're also being respected. So the parents are setting up this relationship and a model for how a relationship can look like. So they will learn how to interact with others, respecting their individuality, their uniqueness, and just with kindness. So that already gives a huge head start, because we're talking about from like those baby boomers that were raised with parents that were like in the middle of the war, the mother was always in the kitchen, the dad was going to work and disappearing, and like the traditional archetypal patriarchy. We're going from there to this place with like children are raised in like the healthiest possible way, and the parents are developing themselves in order to be better parents for the child. Those children will already have this exponential head start.
Yeah.
By not losing all the beautiful things that they come from the factory with.
Yeah, just bringing back the notion that Gaumate brings in, like if that foundation is love, then the soil is like so fertile to let anything really blossom in there, right? Any beautiful tree or flower that's made with the same magic that any tree you see from growing from a seed outside happens, like the magic that's behind it creating it. Mm-hmm. The same in children, right? It can be such a magical thing if we don't disturb it too much.
Yeah.
So if you just give it love and the analogy maybe just water and sunlight, then anything what it will be will emerge. If it's an orange tree, an oak tree, whatever it is, right? But their own path. I think that's really important. Mm. And then I love that you brought in the analogy with the video games, because it's teaches us in a way just following the path that you feel drawn to and not judging it, because we need all of those magicians, the fighters, the healers, all of them. Yeah. Because once you do that, I feel like you can accept yourself more and see the strength in your things. Yeah. Everything has two sides of the coin. There's like shadows and the light side of it. Yeah. And I think what we also figured at some point was that I had all the time the drive to go outside, do sports, be very active. And you had the other side, more like the chill, comfy, whatever. Mm-hmm. And once we realized that was a huge release, because that helped me so much to just freely express and do it on my own, and didn't have to feel dragged when you said, no, I want to be more comfy. I don't want to do it. Yeah. And so that just gave this freedom to really express myself as the person I am. And there's no judgment in which of them is better.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's all about authenticity right from the get-go, and then just keeping that along the way. And I want to make a disclaimer, because I think we're talking about my niece now as we see her personality and we know who she's going to become, when in reality children shift a lot. And then she starts going to school and hanging out with a certain type of person, and then her personality might shift. But it's just right now, if she continues on this path, and this is all that she gets, then these are the potential challenges that she might face, but also the beautiful things that are there to be nurtured and to flourish.
Mm-hmm. I think also additionally the important point that I completely forgot.
That's nice. We're having brain farts all over.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so after the disclaimer now, I want to do an additional thing that we don't really know about childhood development a lot. Like, we had it in university, we studied it, yes, but we're not working on it right now. No. So this is all just our work in progress. We're doing this, what you said in the beginning, this field study of how does it impact us. Just bringing in the awareness that you can learn from everything in your environment, how you interact with them, how you just see everywhere some learnings. And that's, I guess, the journey that we're expressing and sharing.
Yeah.
How we learn, how we perceive it, and maybe anyone who's listening to it can take this, probably the biggest part, just this drop of awareness and being more open to those learnings in your environment. Just being open.
Yeah, yeah. If you have a child close by, just
creep in and
creep. Me the creep that goes to the park and just watches children. Please
just
don't
go in the house
it
next to it and just observe it through the window constantly.
Please don't traumatize anybody. Like, we want healthy children. We don't want traumatized children. But yes, just if you have a niece or a child, just observing them with curiosity and being, I guess, putting yourself in their shoes and how they are discovering the world and how interesting the world is to them.
Yeah. Just stepping into the water. Wow!
But then at the same time, if there's like an emotional thing, nothing. They can do, like, you could bring a unicorn for them to ride and they will not see it because they will just be upset. Like, if they're in the middle of a tantrum. Because that's how emotions are. And in children we respect it, but as adults we don't. So it's like, I cannot stop working because like somebody died and I need to grieve. Well, maybe for a day or two, but then you gotta put on your big human pants and go to work. And that's not, it's not to say that we should succumb to our emotions and like,
as always, there's this balance of like trying to navigate it, but not like letting, if you imagine just a ship on the water that you are, and the waves are the emotions that might be pushing you to the sides. It doesn't mean that they should just roll you over and completely destroy the ship, but rather that you need to learn to navigate how you can go through them, but you cannot suppress them completely as a human. And so I think that learning is just so important, that we navigate it, learn from it, and be a better ship captain in a way, but not completely go either way. That you go the ship ashore because you don't like the waves and just suppress everything.
Yeah.
But neither you want to let the waves completely take over. So having this nice balance between both.
Yes. Yes. But there's so much to learn about children. That was the point. The point is like, just watch children, see how they do things, see the creativity, how they figure things out, and we can take so much from it.
Yeah. And hopefully you too. So take a moment to creep into your
Why do we keep on saying like
I don't know.
Just like hang out, play.
It feels we analyze it so much that
because
every little behavior.
Creeps. We feel like creeps. Yeah. But it's not creepy. Like, it's actually very thoughtful the way that we do it, because we're trying to accelerate the pace in which the children trust us so we can creep them.
Now it's out.
We accelerate that process so then we can be closer and create a bond with them. So that the point is actually very loving, and to be able to be that support person, to be able to comfort them if they get sad, to like that they come to us, that they have an alternative to their parents, and that they can start learning from different perspectives, because that's also very important. Like in the growth of a child, that they don't get the only single two perspectives of their parents, or maybe also the grandparents. Also that they get other people doing different things that just bring novel games, like playing the crab or playing the frog.
And whatever they do basically is fine. Like giving that perspective that each of the traits that you like is fine, because your parents obviously like some things and dislike other things. And if you see and then in a further out, zoomed out perspective, all of the things that you most of the time do are fine as long as you don't hurt anyone, right?
Yeah.
But you need to be able to see them and be able to see that you can accept those parts of you.
Yeah.
What I did, for example, when traveling, seeing completely different ways of looking at the world helped me so much to understand who I was.
Mm-hmm.
By being taken out of the context of my family, my environment.
Yeah. And it takes a minute to figure out that not everybody sees the world the same way as you. That usually happens even after teenage years. Like you're like figuring yourself out like the whole time.
I think I only got to see it because I traveled. Otherwise, if I would have stayed in that lane in the same context and same environment, close to my parents, close to my friends, I'm not sure whether I would have been able to see it.
Yeah. But with this type of raising children and explaining different perspectives, I think they can start seeing that earlier and not taking things so personally, or maybe learning how to deal with different people in different ways. So having more resources. We just want to provide the children of the future with more resources. That's why we need to hang out with them and to just like give them love and try to provide things that will aid in their development. Being those things, just like playing and telling them our perspective on things, and just while being respectful of the parents, of course. You don't want to start a family feud, but yeah, just knowing, like, for example, we are vegetarian, and then like children ask, why do you eat different? And then we're like, because we like eating this way, and we just, without making it like, because you're eating a dead cow that probably had a baby and then was murdered, and it's like, whoa, dude, too hard. No, but without going there, it's like, oh, we actually prefer to eat plants, and we love it like this. And just, they will be like, oh, that's weird, but at least they know that's possible.
Just knowing the perspectives.
Same with like the aunt that has a girlfriend. Like, I mean, you can understand that there's different ways of forming a family. And if that were to be you in the future, you're already getting the permission from the other person. Like,
my aunt does that already.
Yeah, exactly.
Easy.
So all of those things are important to bring, like, the diversity of the possibilities of combinations of humans and of tastes for food and music and dress codes. Like, all of that enriches a child experience. So you let them be authentic, you give them safety, love, and at the same time, you just share your authenticity. And that's how we create a better world.
I hope so. That's the idea.
That's the only plan we have.
That's just all hopes in the children. Just the adults already fucked up. No.
Yes.
But that's one way.
Well, it's like what boomers did. It's what boomers did.
Yeah.
With.
I think we all
like,
just.
Okay, you fix it.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, we'll try.
I think we all just take stuff on from one generation to the next one and try to improve bit by bit. We all have like, oh, I want to be like my parents and want to be better than them. It feels in a way like that.
Yeah. But we have to be mindful so then that process doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't go like south in one generation. It's like
extreme in the other angle,
yeah.
the other direction. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because just one fucked up generation can really disturb the course of humanity. So really, hopefully, this will aid in the process of evolution and a more civil and prosperous society.
Whatever that means.
Whatever that means.
But I guess just trying to be better in any way. I'll say.
Perfect.
Anything else you want to add? We done?
Please finish with a mirror.
thank you for listening to this episode. I hope you took something out of it. And if you see the video, Karen can look into it now too. Yes, so we finished it now for today. I hope you took something from it. Love to see you next week again.
Bye. I'm looking at myself. Okay, bye.
Bye.